The port of Hodeidah, the humanitarian lifeline for Yemen, a place where the UN once again has access. After an inspection by the head of the International Monitoring Mission, General Michael LOLLESGAARD, he declared the Houthis had carried out a key part of the redeployment of their forces, something they'd first agreed to do at talks in Stockholm 6 months ago.
For the UN, this is an important step, as this will allow us to start supporting the management of the ports.
The Saudi-led coalition is very sceptical, claiming that Houthi fighters have handed over to the Coast Guard, but that unit itself is under the effective control of the Houthis. But in New York at the Security Council, the UN Special Envoy Martin Griffiths was positive about recent developments.
Mr. President, this moment is significant, and it's worth cherishing such moments which are not as frequent as we would hope. But this, of course, is only the beginning. These redeployments must be followed, and I'm sure will be followed by concrete actions of the parties to deliver on their obligations under the Stockholm Agreement.
The Security Council also heard from top humanitarian officials from the UN who warned that life for people in Yemen was still very difficult, with the spectre of famine and cholera cases on the rise this year. Meanwhile, with growing tensions between Iran and the US, the search for a wider political peace settlement in Yemen could be even more difficult. The acting American ambassador used his speech to attack the Houthis and Iran.
The Houthis must cease UAV attacks against their fellow citizens and their neighbors. Iran needs to stop supplying the Houthis with weapons to do so. Attacks this week against Saudi infrastructure are just the latest example of how destabilizing that is.
The UN are hoping that developments in Hodeidah will give diplomacy in Yemen fresh momentum. But the situation inside the country is extremely complex, and the regional dynamics are becoming more difficult and dangerous. James Bays, Al Jazeera of the United Nations.